All right, people. Review of the week time. So, a lot to get into. I'm going to try and not focus so heavily on Joseph Parker Fabio Wardley fight because we've kind of done it to death over the last 2 days, really. There's been a lot about it. We've talked a lot about it. We know what happened. Before we do, before we do, on screen just there, we currently, at this minute in time, just to double check, it's just got after 10:30 on a Monday, fine bank holiday Monday. We are at 27,204. So if you could, I'd appreciate if you could smash that like button. It would really help your boy out. I really appreciate it. But let's talk about the undercard of Joseph Parker, Fabio Wardley. Let's go over some of the fights I've seen. Now, I only really started from Royston Barney Smith, but I seen Mitchell Smith was on there as well. Now he was a fighter who has a highlight reel knockout way back in 2015. You see it on a lot of brutal knockout compilations and stuff like that. He's had a real he's had a stop career basically. So he came back to winning ways on that card. He actually took the O of a guy called Arnie Dawson. That was for a WBO lightweight. It was for WBO lightweight European title. It's not the actual EBU title, but it's something. So he got back to winning ways. Royston Barney Smith, or RBS as he's known as, he looked really good. He looked really good against Danny Quartermain, and I watched that fight live. And Barney Smith is very athletic. He's very gifted, and he showed it. It was on full display there. It was a really good performance. I thought he looked absolutely phenomenal. So a great performance by him. Ezra Taylor against late replacement Steed Woodall. Now, it was meant to be Louis Edmondson. Obviously, he pulled out on fight week. Woodhall has a win over Lerone Richards. Lost his last fight, or not, maybe it wasn't his last fight, but he certainly lost to Callum Simpson in, I think, a subsequent fight. It was a very early stoppage, but he still lost that. He came in on short notice, absolute warrior. Ezra Taylor did what he needed to do. He did what he needed to do. He got stopped. I think it was the ninth or 10th round. The corner threw in the towel. Completely the correct decision. He wasn't going to win the fight. He was a mile behind, but he's very game. He's one of those fighters who he'll always give a good account of himself, even in defeat. So massive credit to him. The co-main event, which, again, full disclosure, this, in my opinion, this whole event felt like a fight night. It didn't feel like a pay-per-view. And the co-main event absolutely stank. Stank the place out. Jurgen Oleja against Rolly Lambert Fug Again, butchering both names, apologies. It was an absolute stinker. It was a stinker. Stunk the joint out. What did a live watch along? No one in the watch along was paying attention, nor was I. We were all just talking about other things. It was an absolute stinker. The whole card itself, again, it really felt like this card right here had a fight night feel to it. The undercard was like a typical fight night. I don't think it should have been behind a paywall, personally. That's just my opinion. I don't think it should have been behind a paywall. I think that it should have been just on standard DAZN because it had that type of feel to it. If you're doing a pay-per-view with a weak undercard, you could argue that Alexander Usyk, Danny Dubois was a weak undercard by, pay-per-view standards. But it had all the hype. Like when they were in the ring, you were feeling it, you were buzzing. Everything was geared towards the main event. This just had, or I did a watch along 2 weeks ago for Dave Allen versus Makhmudov, which was on standard DAZN, and that had the same feel as this. I really think that this should have been standard DAZN. I don't think it warranted pay-per-view. I really, truly don't. I really don't. In terms of the main event, Joseph Parker, Fabio Wardley, I've already done a post-fight review. I've already talked about it. In my opinion, Parker, it's one of the stories of his career, isn't it? He lost the fight more than Wardley won it, I believe. Now, this is not to knock Fabio Wardley, absolutely not. I think that what he's been able to achieve in the sport of boxing, given the fact that he had no amateur career to speak of, white-collar background, he calls himself white-collar Wardley, it's remarkable that he's going in there, he's beaten guys who 10 years ago were world champions, who have done more in the amateurs, have done more in the pros than him, but yet he's still able to go in there, perform well, and get the wins. It's phenomenal. It really is. But I really have to say, whoever thought it was a good idea for Parker to come in the 260s, they need their head examined. They need their head examined. It's a thing that fighters have been doing over the last, say, 20, 30 years. Pack on the weight, it'll make you stronger, it'll make you hit harder, etc., etc., etc. And it does none of the above. All it does is hinder the fighter. And what amazes me is, right, you have a fighter, will say, who, maybe Joseph Parker's a prime example, where They pack on all that weight. They fight a Martin Bakole who came in no kind of shape on 2 days' notice and only arrived in Riyadh on the day of the fight. They look good. They stop him in 2 rounds, and then they're like, this proves it works. It doesn't prove anything. It proves that you fought a guy who was an absolute pudding in the ring. That, not to say he is that, Martin Bakole, but on the night, that's all he was. That doesn't prove anything. It's like that when fighters pack on the weight and they're fighting a journeyman or a scrub or someone like that, and they're like, yeah, I'm hitting harder, I'm feeling better. Well, you could have probably done the same to the guy if you were 20 pounds lighter. You know, it's only really when they get into a real fight, a real dog fight, a real fight where they need their legs, etc., and then they're like, oh crap, oh, my legs aren't the same as they used to be. They're not moving as fast. I'm tired. I'm carrying around all this weight. Well, is it helping you now? So I think the decision for Parker to come in 262 was an absolutely bizarre decision. I really don't understand the logic behind it. And I think that ultimately cost him. I think that also he fought reckless at times in there. His boxing, his jab, it was all working very, very well. Against Deontay Wilder, where he was a lot lighter as well, he was in the 240s in that fight. He knew he was in there with a dangerous puncher at any time. Because again, you can look back with hindsight and say, well, Wilder was finished at that point. Yeah, you can say he was finished at that point, but we didn't know that. Parker didn't know it. His previous performance, he got a first round KO win over Hellenius, knocked him damn near out cold, set him into another universe. So for Parker and everyone looking on, we were thinking we're getting Deontay Wilder of old, the wrecking ball, you know? That's what we thought we were getting. So Joseph Parker fought a very measured, very reserved fight. He won the fight clearly, and he basically needed to replicate that against Wardley because, like Joseph or like Deontay Wilder, Wardley is a limited boxer. You know, if you put a jab on him, if you try and outbox him, you're probably going to be able to do it. You know, as Justice Hooney did before he got caught, as many others, as Nathan Gorman and Nick Webb have been able to do before they've ultimately got caught. All you needed to do was just keep it at your pace, do what you need to do, stay out of harm's way unless the opportunity is there and you know you're going to be able to take advantage of it. Well, Joe Parker didn't do any of that. He fought a reckless fight and he ultimately ended up getting stopped. As for the stoppage, I still don't agree with the decision. I can understand why some people agree with it because, yes, Joseph Parker wasn't returning fire. He wasn't showing the referee enough. But I still feel if the punches are being blocked, you know, it's like when people say against Vladimir Klitschko and AJ, you know, the stoppage in the 11th round. A lot of people were saying that stoppage they felt was a little bit on the premature side because Klitschko had come back in that fight in the past from being dropped. And also the punches weren't landing clean. And it's like, well, yeah, I think if they're not landing clean, if they're missing, and the fighter is still showing even signs of life, you need to give him at the very least an extra 10 to 15 seconds. But Parker definitely should have taken a knee in that moment, in that round when he was getting hurt, 100%. As for what both guys do from here, well, Fabio Wardley, Alexander Usyk next, 100%. They need to get that fight done. I think that it would do great numbers. I think it'd be a fun fight to watch. The build-up would be fun. Ain't no way Fabio Wardley's beating Alexander Usyk. No way in hell. Alexander Usyk will... Honestly, Alexander Usyk could probably stop Fabio Wardley. He'll probably stop him in similar fashion and a similar time frame to how he did Dubois. The gap is just... It doesn't matter if Usyk is maybe on the decline, and he's not that much on the decline. It's just too much. You're never going to be able to get around that. No way. I don't feel anyway. I just think there's no way you're getting around that. As for Joseph Parker, he needs to... Listen, I think Parker still has a little something left to offer the heavyweight division. I do. I truly do think that, right? But mistakes were made. Questions have to be asked. Lessons need to be learned. This whole... I don't like it when fighters do this. They pack the weight on, then they have to get it. It's just ridiculous. Find a weight that you're comfy with. Find a weight where everything clicks. And try and stay, when you're out of camp, maybe 10 pounds above that weight. Because you're never going to be able to hit it perfectly outside of camp, fair enough. But that's what you need to be doing. And I think Parker still has a little bit left to offer the heavyweight division. But questions need to be asked. They really, truly do. They really, truly do. So that's my thoughts on the card. Let's go and have a look at what Everything Boxing has to say, because he has plenty of news, and that's where I get most of my news from. At the show on the weekend, all right, Ade was there with Frank Warren's stable of heavyweights, and it's a mightily impressive heavyweight stable. It really, truly is. I mean, he had a Tauma there, he had Dubois, he had a Coley, he had Ajay Kabayel, who'll be fighting in January. It's a phenomenally impressive heavyweight stable Frank Warren has. His stable of fighters are just phenomenal. You know, people still say, you know, Eddie Hearn is the man of the... No, he's not. It's Frank Warren. Frank Warren's stable is remarkable. I mean, he has a show on this coming Saturday, which I think is actually on paper better than the show that we had over the weekend, which is Joshua Buatsi headlining against Zach Parker. I think it's a phenomenal show. And I think, again, it just shows the depth of fighters Frank Warren has. But obviously, after Frank Warren had all the fighters there, Ade went to Derek Chisora and outstepped Dillian Whyte. They're saying that Dillian Whyte versus Chisora 3 will be happening on December the 13th. But Chisora still was kind of hinting at Frank that the contract is still not quite there. Now, I was watching that live when they did it, and they were talking about it, this, that, and the other. Dillian Whyte these days, it's very strange, right? Now, full disclosure, I think Chisora wins this fight. I think he probably stops Dillian Whyte. Yes, Chisora has definitely seen better days, but I still think he's got way more left in the tank at this stage than Dillian Whyte does. Dillian Whyte is done, man. He's done. That Atelma fight showed me everything I needed to be seeing. And the way he was in the build-up to that Atelma fight was very strange. Dillian Whyte is a very fiery character. He's all action, he's all go, and, that's the way he is. He was very reserved and grounded in that Atelma fight. Not even just in the ring, but in the build-up. It was really weird. And I thought when they came face-to-face with Chisora that we'd see a bit more of that, let's go. Dillian Whyte, remember that? And again, it was none of that. It was just like, yeah, beating him twice, let's do it. It's like, okay. It really does seem to me that Dillian Whyte at this stage in his career, when he's near the end, let's be real, is pretty much collecting rather than actually doing anything. And I think that this Chisora trilogy fight, it'll happen. It'll most likely happen. I think that this is really just one last big payday. It will appeal to the casual audience. It definitely will. They're both big characters, Chisora in particular. And I think Chisora will win it. I think Chisora will stop Dillian Whyte this time. I think that Dillian Whyte's chin is nothing like it was in the first fight. Now, fair enough, both fighters aren't what they were in the first fight, but Chisora still has plenty left in the tank. He really does. He absolutely has plenty left in the tank. So what else do we have here? Paddy Donovan made an offer to fight Liam Paro in Australia. That'd be an interesting fight. That would be an interesting fight. Liam Paro, he's not exactly flattered to deceive. He's not exactly flattered, I should say, in his most recent fights. So that'd be actually an interesting fight for Paddy Donovan. Confirmed. Number 1 WBC ranked heavyweight. I still don't know how he got number 1 rank in Badeo. Lawrence Okoli will return to the ring on December the 19th in Nigeria with David Adelaide on the undercard. Now, they're not fighting one another apparently, but they will be on the same card. And that's going to be an interesting one because the card itself looks pretty good. I know, obviously, Okoli, we like seeing him. At heavyweight, he's been looking a little bit better, although his last fight was a little bit not on the entertaining side. David Adelaide, we love watching. Very, very fun, very, very entertaining fighter. So we can rule out him against Atelma, which I'll get to now in a sec. There's also a Matchroom card on December the 20th in Ghana. Now, nothing has been announced for that, but come on, people. Ghana, Matchroom. I don't know, and I don't know. I've no inside knowledge. But I'm thinking, could we get AJ maybe? And again, I've no inside knowledge. I don't know. But it'd be pretty epic if we got AJ back this year in Ghana, because I kind of thought he wouldn't be back until probably early next year, but who knows, we may very well see him. I'm looking for the quote on Tyson Fury where he was talking about coming back, or basically shutting it down, but I'll touch on that now in a wee bit. I just can't seem to find it. But let's just talk about December the 13th with regard to Telma. So apparently Michael Hunter is fighting in the York Hall that Friday, so it won't be him. Hughie Fury has a fight lined up apparently on one of those GBM shows, it won't be him. Pulev is fighting Murat Gassiev, so it won't be him. Who else is there? Adelaide is fighting in Nigeria on December the 19th, so it won't be him, as is Okoli. What's the deal with Atelma? Who is he going to fight? Because all these opponents that they're listing and they're talking about, gone. Now, understand, I don't mind necessarily Atelma going and dropping down a few levels, because at the end of the day, you don't need to necessarily rush him, because he's only 20 years old. But he's number 1 ranked by 2 of the main sanctioning bodies, which I think is completely ridiculous, to be honest with you. In WBA and WBO respect, I don't understand it. I think it's a hard one. If you're gonna put that show on pay-per-view and you're gonna sell it, you need a Telma in a decent fight. If it was standard DAZN, I'd say, yeah, just put him in with a durable journeyman or someone like that, or someone durable. It doesn't have to be a big name, it doesn't have to be a name or anything, but put him with someone durable, see what he can do. It's tin on the ground now. It's tin on the ground now for opponents. It really truly is. So I don't know. There's a lot of talk that maybe if Itauma doesn't actually end up going out on December the 13th, or if they can't find an opponent, they'll have to push him back. I think they said until, God, when did they say they push it back? It was Lordy, I can't remember. They're saying, oh, February 7th or something like that. I'm struggling here to find the article where Frank Warren was saying Fury might come back, but Fury was kind of refuting that and saying that he wants £1 billion, or maybe not even for £1 billion to come back. Listen, we know what the deal is with Tyson Fury, right? He retired at the start of this year. No one believes it, and I still don't believe it. Tyson Fury is desperate for that Alexander Usyk trilogy. He's desperate to jump the queue. He's desperate to be next in line to get that trilogy fight. The only problem is Turkey, the Saudis, AJ, everyone, I think even Frank Warren, want to see that Fury Joshua fight. It's not for who's the second best heavyweight. That's not the case. It's for bragging rights. Who is the better between the two? Because the rivalry's been going on for over a decade. We want it settled. We want it solved. That's the fight we all want to see. Problem is, and I would make Fury firm favourite in that fight. I think he beats Anthony Joshua. I think he probably stops him, to be honest with you. The problem is, Fury will not take any other risk other than an Alexander Usyk trilogy. That's just the way it is. It's unfortunate, but that's what's going to happen. He's going to look to fight a trilogy fight with Alexander Usyk, and I can't see him deviating from those plans, unfortunately. I think that's the way it's looking. So Fury is going to look for that trilogy with Alexander Usyk, and I think we may be found waiting or wanting for this Anthony Joshua fight, in my opinion anyway. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, again, like, I mean, this week has been really dominated by the Parker Wardley card and the fallout from that and stuff like that. So there's not been a crazy amount to talk about. So it's a nice way to end the month, actually, because we're going into a manic next 2 months. I mean, actually, the next 2 months are absolutely, they're crazy. They really are. We've got a manic next 2 months coming up with fights. We've got Ben Eubank in a couple of weeks, and then we obviously have the big Riyadh card. December is a crazy month. Ben Whitaker. So much good stuff. I mean, to be a boxing fan now coming into Christmas, it is a boxing fan's Christmas because we have so much to discuss, so much to talk about. And you know I love talking. You know I love talking. I'll talk to anyone. I'll talk the ears off anyone. So we've got plenty of videos to come. For now, people, I hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. And until next time.